guys, Comic Boom here. We are going live here. This is an impromptu live stream. I basically am in the process of decorating my Christmas tree in my loft here, and I figured I wasn't able to review all the comic books I wanted to this week, so I figured, finish off some hot chocolate and finish off some Corona. Merry Christmas. And also finish, I thought I'd talk a little about some of the comic books that I didn't actually get to review this week. In particular, there's a couple, there's Justice League. There's Justice League and there was Super Sons. There were so many good comic books this week. There was Green Lantern. There was Incredible, Immortal Hulk. There's Doctor Strange. There's Nightwing. There's some really good comic books out this week that I thought I'd talk about. But over the years, I've accumulated all kinds of decorations. So I'm going to do this because every year, I want to actually have a record every year of what I'm doing around Christmas time in the context of comic books. And look at that. That's what everybody's familiar with this bundle when you try to decorate a Christmas tree, huh? Unbelievable. Anyways, here's a Flash. I don't know, I think this is a Barry Allen Flash, although in my world, this is Wally West Flash. And in my world, Wally West isn't dead, but Barry Allen is. Barry Allen never came back to life. And if he did come back to life, he was immediately killed again. Probably at Sanctuary. That would be my revenge. But I'm not the editor-in-chief at DC Comics, so I can't do whatever I want. But I can dream in the in Comic Boom world. There is Wally West. And Barry Allen is the fastest man alive. So anyways, there we go. Goes up there. Anyways, I wanted to talk, we'll talk first about Legion of Doom, the Justice League. This comic book here. This was issue 13. I thought I'd talk a little bit about this while I'm decorating the tree. This was written by James Tynion IV. It was not bad. And every now and then, Scott Snyder, he really delves into this. And this is the Legion. This is the second villain-centric focus story, I believe, in Justice League. And it was really the focus on the Joker. The cover gives you the impression that it's just about Lex, or that it's about Lex Luthor and the Joker. But it really is more of a story just about. It's really just about the Joker, and I find that it's a very. It seems to be a very Joker-centric story, very much along the lines of what Scott Snyder usually always does for the Joker. I wasn't too impressed with how Lex Luthor was portrayed in Justice League number 13. I thought Luthor came across kind of like an idiot, but basically. If you recall that Lex Luthor had actually captured, the Legion of Doom had somehow, at the end of the metal, they apparently had captured the Batman Who Laughs. And I guess in order to recruit the Joker basically told Lex, Lex, I'll partner up with you and I'll join your Legion of Doom. All I want in return is you got to choose me over him. You got to choose me over the Batman Who Laughs. And of course, we know that Lex Luthor basically betrayed the Joker because he basically let the Batman Who Laughs know in order to get the Batman Who Laughs to tell him about the secret of Perpetua. And and of course now they got, after Crowded Earth, they got the totality, and Lex Luthor's trying to get Perpetua out to figure out more secrets of the Seven Forces. But in the meantime that is Han Solo. That's right. Back when he was in his prime, Harrison Ford, man, I loved when the guy's in his prime. Unfortunately, he's not anymore, and he's got to stop making movies. I mean, I love Indiana Jones, man. I dress up like Indiana Jones at every comic convention, but I got to tell you, I'm getting old too, believe me. But, Harrison Ford, you should have passed the torch on to somebody else. If you're going to do another Indiana Jones movie, pass the torch on to somebody else, and not somebody gay like who wields a sword in a leather jacket like in Indiana Jones 4, a movie that I would much rather forget. In any event, there we go. Han Solo going up top there. All right. There we go. Yeah, so Yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed with Justice League Legion of Doom. I felt it could have been better. This here is a Star Wars Phantom Menace jet. I don't know, I acquired that a long time ago. I just put it on for bleeps and giggles, so to speak. Let me see here. I am this mess is, good lord. But see, here's my view of the Joker, just for what it's worth, and that the Joker is overrated. And what's clear in Justice League Legion of Doom number 13 is you can see why he's overrated. Because the only thing that he did was that the only weapon that the Joker has in his arsenal is always gas. He claimed to Lex Luthor that he could make gas that could penetrate any force field. and per Lex Luthor's supposed to be the smartest guy around, and he can't figure out how to overcome gas that can penetrate any force field. I guess somebody's got to tell Lex Luthor, the smartest man alive, that all you need is a fan. That's all you need is a fan. Blow the gas away. Problem solved. You know, I never wrote it. But that's all good. But anyways, so the Joker leaves now, and the Joker runs off to be in the Batman Who Laughs. That series is coming out. It's going to be interesting to see how that sort of plays out. I'm a little bit concerned about the Batman Who Laughs. The preview of the Batman Who Laughs is interesting. It basically has the Batman Who Laughs breaking into Arkham Asylum ostensibly to kill the Joker, and it's kind of blasé. You know, it's weird because the Batman Who Laughs is actually Bruce Wayne, a corrupted, evil Bruce Wayne from another reality, and he wants to kill the Joker in our reality. I'm not really sure why. I guess it's metal, which a lot of people might forget. So I can see why the Batman Who Laughs hates the Joker. Incidentally, while we're on this topic, isn't that a long name, the Batman Who Laughs? I did a great job. There's so much hope and fun, and it's the whole idea of this family. Billy Batson's family, his fosters, siblings, all there, all sharing a home. They all care for each other, they stick up for each other, and they all share different aspects of the power of Shazam. It's wonderful. It's just such a great one. It's a great one shot, and yet it promises to be quite epic. And that these young kids, Billy Batson and Mary Marvel and Pedro and Eugene and Darla, they're all going to explore the 7 magic lands in another realm, and I think it promises to be quite good. Hey, Paulo, sorry. Sorry, Paulo. I called you Paula. This is just a very impromptu live stream. I'm just decorating my tree. Just talking about Super Sons. Just finished talking about Shazam. Super Sons is a really great, another great series, because in this latest issue, it has to do with both Jonathan Kent and Damian meeting up with their future selves. And they actually inspire their future selves to win the day. It's very inspiring. It's lighthearted, it's fun, with a great message. And, here we go. Here's my next decoration. It's the Batman. This one's pretty epic. Look at that. Yeah. I got to tell you, man, when a person wants to decorate here, the absolute key thing when you do this stuff is to always buy after Christmas. Always buy your Christmas decorations for the following Christmas, because they're a lot cheaper, right? But in any event, yeah. So here I am again trying to pull. There we go. Trying to get some more decorations into the. This is symbolic of life, because this is me trying to put something very skinny into a small hole. I mean, it's symbolic of other people's lives, but not mine. All right. Here we go. There we go. Batman right above Wally West Flash. That's where it goes. But, all right, guys. You can see here. All right. The next decoration is my mystery machine, which leads into one of my favorite comics of 2018, which will be in my top 35, and that is Scooby-Doo Scooby Apocalypse, which is a great series. Guys, if you have an opportunity to buy some trades of Scooby Apocalypse, I suggest you do so. I think they're on issue 27 or 28. It's just a great series. It's very adult-like. In fact, they take the subject matter of a horror and sort of a zombie apocalypse far more. They take it as seriously as Walking Dead does. And with the Daphne, Scooby-Doo, and their take on Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and the whole group. And then there's Fred, and Fred is a zombie, and Fred was killed, and he's proposing to Daphne all the time. And there's Zelda, and anyways, it's very well done. It's written by Keith Giffen. Now, Keith Giffen, I always say, was out of his prime a long time ago. He originally did the Justice League International back in the 80s. I consider that his prime. He's done some work since then, but most of the stuff has been not so notable, like Blue Beetle and stuff. But they put him on Scooby Apocalypse, and my God, to me, it's a comic book that's gone under the radar and deserves far more recognition. But in any event, the Mystery Machine will now go up. There we go. The Mystery Machine goes up, and my hot chocolate is officially done, and now it's time for Corona, the official drink of Comic Boom Christmas. That's right. But, oh, there we go. I thought I lost my opener there, guys. We almost had a crisis over here. As in DC crisis. As in, that's a very bad joke, but it's a DC joke. And a lot of crises nowadays are kind of very bad. Badly written. Incidentally, a little bit of Christmas Corona advice. Your first sip, that was going to take your time. Because if you go too fast, it comes up and you lose some of it. And you never want to lose any Corona. Never want to lose Corona. There we go. I want to give another shout out to one of these comic books arrived late, and it was the cover for Mr. Miracle number 12. Dark Side Is. That cover is fantastic. This thing really, this is the cover I wanted. I finally got it in. I arrived late. But I love this. This is so symbolic. I actually, Mr. Miracle was a series that I thought ended. It met my expectations. It didn't exceed them. It met them. And so I was very happy because the bloom off the Tom King rose, well, it blew off a long time ago. But it ended nice. And I kind of like the symbolism here. To me, this is life. We're all trying to keep the darkness at bay. And, and the dark side is always there, but we're always winning the battle, even though it feels like we're being, swarmed by it all the time. I like that. It's a great cover. In fact, this is probably going to be one of my covers of the year. Heads up on I'm going to do a top 10 covers for the year as well. All right. I want to talk about now, as I continue to decorate the tree, I want to talk about Immortal Hulk number 10. Guys, this continues to just be fantastic. Al Ewing continues to impress the heck out of me. He's done just an amazing. Him and Joe Bennett on the art, Rui Jose on the inks, and Paul Mounts doing the lettering. Really good stuff. Joe Bennett's the penciler. Al Ewing's the writer, and inkers Rui Jose and LeBeau Underwood and Raphael Fonterez are the inkers, and Paul Mounts the colorist. Really good stuff. What I find interesting about this is that Al Ewing is taking the Hulk all the way back to his to the original place where David Banner turned into the Hulk. And the horror element is it that, when he dies, when David Banner dies, he turns into the Hulk. But it's not just that. Now he's fighting the Absorbing Man. And unbeknownst, it's a new revelation that at least I didn't know. I didn't know this about the Hulk, that apparently when David Banner first turned into the Hulk, a green door, when the gamma bomb exploded, there was a green door that almost opened when he turned into the Hulk. And that green door, it never opened all the way because when the explosion that turned him into the Hulk, he managed, even though it was a gamma explosion, when he turned into the Hulk, he apparently absorbed the bulk of the gamma radiation. But if he hadn't done that, the green door would have opened and transported all of Earth into hell, or something like that. And in any event, well, they get transported into hell in number 10. Spoiler alert. That's how it ends. But how it does it, you got to read it. It's really a great story. Oh, sorry. This is New 52 Superman. You can tell that, of course, because he doesn't wear any shorts. And this is also, thing is, I always joke you can get anything New 52 at a discount. Why? Because it's the new. Jim Lee has a lot of problem watching, but Jim Lee D paraphernalia, merchandise, and there's a lot of it all New 52, unfortunately, because I'm not a huge fan of the New 52, other than Wonder Woman, which I liked. This was a nice Superman. The detail's pretty good, and these are all the heart ornaments, very well done, the detail, and always buy these after Christmas for the following Christmas again. Good stuff. Again, the price tag on these things from okay, we got cut off there. Back live. Next comic is Doctor Strange. Now, Mark Wade, and Jose Saez have done just a phenomenal job on this series, and this is such a wonderful story. Again, this is the type of story. This is right in the line there with Shazam and Super Sons, if you can believe that, in terms of the hope and the fun. That's what and just a good message of love in Doctor Strange number 9. And the reason why this is such a good comic book is because it's a one-shot, for one thing, and it's got a beautiful message. And I think even though it's not a Christmas comic, it's got a good message. It's basically it's Doctor Strange and a bunch of real estate developers over the years. It takes place over a number of years. It's got flashbacks going back many years. And basically what it is that it basically has a bunch of guys trying to convince Doctor Strange to sell his real estate because they want to buy the house on his block. And Doctor Strange, he loves his neighborhood. He loves his neighborhood. And right away from the beginning, it's established that, his inner sanctum there, his house, it's got connections to strange and otherworldly and mystical and magical things. And so you're assuming throughout the entire story that the reason why he doesn't want to sell his place is because it's a special place. It's got all these mystical and magical connections because he's Doctor Strange. And throughout it all, you see him interact with his neighbors, and his neighbors look upon him with a little bit of suspicion. They like him, but they're a little bit worried about him because there's a lot of strange things, pardon the pun, that go in and out of Doctor Strange's house, like strange creatures, every superhero imaginable, villains of all stripes and sizes, right? So, the fact that Doctor Strange won't sell his house is like something that, not only does Doctor Strange not sell his house, but he scares off all the other realtors that want to buy his neighbors' places because his neighbors don't want to sell, but they're being pressured. So it's almost like they're being pressured by the mafia, the mob, or some otherworldly forces. And the ending is just beautiful because the ending has a message. And here it is. Here's Action Comics number 1. This is another good ornament. It's got the little Superman there that flies in front of it. So, it's good. So you gotta space them just right on the tree. But in any event, you have in Doctor Strange, the reason why he didn't sell his house was not because of anything super heroic. It was simply because he loved his neighbors. And he didn't want to sell because he loved the neighborhood. It was such a simple message, just loving your neighbor. And it's a really great comic, and it's well drawn. I suggest people pick it up. If I had more time, I would do it more justice. And so absolutely pick up Doctor Strange. Now, the next comic I'm going to review is Green Lantern number 2. Now, Grant Morrison very clearly right off the bat. Spike Valentine and I, we did a live stream a couple weeks ago when Green Lantern 1 came out, and we really enjoyed it. It was well written by Grant Morrison. Liam Sharp's art's fantastic. Well, the otherworldly crazy aspects, almost psychedelic thinking of Grant Morrison continues in this issue, and Liam Sharp is the right artist for the job in terms of how he basically writes it. Who would have thought you would have had a Green Lantern? You look on the cover and you see this exploding volcano with the Green Lantern symbol on it. Well, that exploding mountain is actually a Green Lantern. It's it's a goofy looking lantern that he's got a head that is actually an exploding volcano. It's actually a life form. I don't know, and I tried to. I mean, it almost looks like the Christmas. I should put a Green Lantern symbol on the Christmas tree here. I don't know, but just a crazy. The investigation, the space cop angle continues. He plays good space cop, bad cop, good cop in this. It appears as if the controllers are trying to build a weapon and trying to build their own army of soldiers, but utilizing the Star brand from a guy that used to call himself Evil Star. And there's a lot of great comedy because this guy, he's being bugged. Why is he called Evil Star? Why would you be dumb enough to do that? Volcano Lantern replaced Potato Lantern is my favorite Green Lantern. Yes. Yeah. You know what? Full disclosure, Paulo, I didn't know there was a potato Green Lantern. I, I honestly didn't know. I have these Green Lantern figures. Yeah, there was a potato-headed lantern. Her name was Medfill. Medfill. Well, you know what? You know more about Green Lantern lore than I do. Then I've never been a huge big fan of the different elements of the core, if I'm brutally honest. But I'm becoming one because I like Green Lantern's approach to it because pardon me, I like Grant Morrison's approach to it because he almost looks at them individually and he's really good at giving them their own distinctive personalities. One of the criticisms I had of the earlier run under Venditti and even Jeff Johns, quite frankly, is his Green Lantern run. I always thought there was very little, there seemed to be a very little sense, other than a visual sense, that the aliens were different. They all spoke the same. They all, many ways, had the same kind of language. And that was because, maybe it was because they just automatically had the ring do all the translating for them. And so in my mind, it's sort of, we sort of missed out on how they actually interact with each other. And Green Lantern under Morrison here, you really get a sense of the strangeness of all these alien creatures and how they're interacting. All right, I got a Grinch. I always put the Grinch up because it's very important. Why? Because sometimes I'm a Grinch. I don't always give glowing reviews. Sometimes I'm kind of a jerk. So that's just who I am. If I'm honest, Santa hasn't been in my house in a long, I don't know how many years it's been. I don't know. I got cookies and everything, even Corona, but he never stops by. Well, that's all right. Maybe he'll stop by. I got a daughter now, so maybe that'll make a difference. Okay, there we go. All right. Next on the list here, we have the classic Catwoman. You need to get a Green Lantern logo sticker and glue it on the Grinch. Yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. In fact, I'm not gonna lie, I think I probably have one somewhere. I got I got this guy, Crisello, and I got this one. You know what? I never knew who this was. It was in a box. And thanks to Grant Morrison, #1, I now know that this is Crisello. I actually felt disappointed when I got this in a Green Lantern box. I thought, like, what is this guy? I didn't even know. Is it even a guy? Is gender even relevant to this species? I have no idea. Anyways. But, yeah. Okay, Crisello. I'll put Crisello on top of the Christmas tree. All right. Green Lantern, we're talking about you. I'll put you right back here. Anyways, here is the classic original Catwoman. Doesn't, look at those legs. She's kind of small, but, there we go. In terms of exactly what is the end game of the controllers. And the jokes here and the humor, especially as Evil Star gets defeated and he gets eaten by a vampire and he talks about why he thinks his name Star is so cool because I gotta read this because it's actually kind of funny. He says, Evil Star was my satirical take on Green Lantern. They're green, so I'm evil. And Star is brighter than Lantern, right? It's badass. That's an exact quote. He's kind of laughed at here. He's kind of a joke, but but anyways, it's a great. You got to pick up this. You got to pick up the issue. I think it's a lot of fun. Morrison's doing a pretty good job here. All right, all right. Next ornament, and I'll get to the next review in a moment here. The next ornament is going to be Harley Quinn. Check out the hammer. That is the same hammer. Rumor has it that she used to kill Wally West with in Heroes in Crisis #3. The same Wally that I have right there. Right there. But here's the thing. I got 2 flashes. And just to show my contempt for Barry Allen, both my flashes are Wally West. That's right. Both of them. What do we need Barry for? There was a reason why we killed him off all those years ago. I didn't want to bring him back. But anyways, let's put on, we're going to put Harley up here first. And then I should say that the next comic we're going to review is The Martian Manhunter. Which, yeah. Good thing I'm drinking Corona while I'm reviewing Martian Manhunter. All right. Up goes Harley. All right. So guys, Martian Manhunter here. Martian Manhunter is written by, I think Joe Orlando or Steve Orlando. And the artist is Riley Rosmo. Now, the art here is a very different sort of take. It's a little different. I'm familiar with Riley Rosmo because I reviewed a series that he did called, well, it was a Vertigo series. And the Vertigo series was called, well, just let me be here. It's, man, I forget the name of the series. I have it right there in the box. I just don't want to leave this stream too much. But let's just say that Riley Rosmo, I like his artistic style. I mean, look at the art here. This is really good art. He's really good at drawing a scene. He's good at details. And he's got a very unique and different kind of take on, he's got a unique visual take on the Martian Manhunter himself. Now, what I like is that he's kept John Jones as a detective, which I really think is important because I really love, my favorite take on John Jones has always been Darwin Cook's take in The New Frontier, which is, you know, I know it's cliche to say that Darwin Cook, New Frontier is my favorite, but I mean, hey, when it's fantastic, it's fantastic. Great stuff. John Jones, as he's portrayed in that series, as sort of this loner detective trying to figure out the world for watching TV in the early 1940s, is just fantastic. And as he, you know, he gets to know Mr. Faraday, and he eventually helps the Justice League ultimately defeat Starro, and the interactions with Dinosaur Island. That was a fantastic series. This here is a little bit different as well. I don't mind it though. I'm gonna stick with it, see what it's like. Everybody always has their different take on Martian Manhunter. The flashbacks into how Mars was, just beautiful art. It sort of transports me back into what I really get a strong sense of the culture of Martian Manhunter, of the Green Martians, and I'm not really sure. I mean, you can get a sense there. I'm not really sure exactly to what extent this is going to play an active role in any particular DC story moving forward. One of the things I notice about John Jones is there's never really been a huge, he's never really resonated. You know, the most really successful amount of publicity I thought John Jones ever got, Martian Manhunter ever got, other than maybe on the CW, but the best, I think, publicity he ever got in comic books was during the lead up to Final Crisis, when he was actually killed, and there was that funeral, and Batman brought Oreos, brought his Oreo cookies to the funeral, and that famous phrase uttered by Superman, you know, about, you know, let's pray for a resurrection. And of course, the resurrection did, of course, come, because after all, this is comic books. But Yeah, so it's not bad. It's not bad. And it's, I gotta say, Joe Orlando, or pardon me, Steve Orlando is not a writer that I'm a huge fan of. And I'm not a huge fan of his Wonder Woman. I wasn't a huge fan of his Justice League America. He just doesn't cut it. I don't know why DC keeps giving him work. I really don't. But maybe there's going to be something here. There's not enough to tell just after one issue. But that's what I got to say about that. All right. Okay, so now there is, what else do I, oh my God. There is, oh, here's one. Ah, yes. Got the bat signal. And the good thing about me having a bat signal is that Jim Gordon isn't around with a baseball bat to destroy my bat signal. Because if you think Batman has a temper, who rips urinals off walls, you should check out Jim Gordon. My God, the guy, latest issue of Batman. If you haven't seen it, pick it up. Have I checked out Green Lantern #2, Koala? Yes, I actually just finished talking about it. Yes, I did. My personal favorite, I loved Evil Star, as he called himself, Evil Star. And then he thought his name was so cool. And then he ends up being nothing but a pathetic old man once they remove the star power from him. And he shrivels up and he's basically dying. And he killed 2.5 billion beings, and Hal Jordan doesn't really care if they, take their time giving him medical attention. It's great. And of course, there's the volcano Green Lantern. Koala, Paulo suggested that I get a Green Lantern symbol, and I put it in front of my Grinch here, and maybe have a Green Lantern Grinch, which would be kind of cool. I think he's probably a candidate to become a member of the Sinestro Corps, I think, but so be it. But yeah, Green Lantern 2, great comic. So here's my next decoration. This is actually where you connect the, this is Batman. This actually hooks up to the light, and then the light shows, I think, oh yes, it looks like I'm going to have to get some glue. I'm going to have to get some glue on this one. Yep, somebody broke my bat signal, and I think his name is Jim Gordon. But I'll have to put that up later. All right, now I got my, it's not Christmas without Christmas balls. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, yeah. There's a whole slew here, guys. I want to show you how many comic books I actually got this week. Now, I got the Dreaming #4. So let's just go through this. I got the Dreaming #4. Great series. I love Simon Spurrier's doing a great job. Bill Chris Everly. Her art alone. I became familiar with I always say her name wrong. I apologize to Miss Everly. Bilquis Everly. I got familiar with her art when she was guest artist. She was a guest artist in Wonder Woman during Greg Rucka's run. But really great art. Does a really good job here. The cover isn't her art, but I mean, if you can see some of that art there, it's just really good stuff. Really good. I recommend the Dreaming. Even if you're not into Sandman, you can catch on what's going on. But Deathstroke Arkham. Now Christopher Priest is someone who, I don't know, he's yet to write a story that really stands out to me. It's always, I've never quite really gotten into his work. I think his best work is in Deathstroke. Wasn't a big fan of his Justice League. Wasn't a big fan of much else, to be honest with you. Although I didn't mind some of his past work, but in any event, this is actually a decent one with a Deathstroke and Two-Face. I'm actually enjoying it. Now, let's talk about Rick. Rick Grayson, huh? Anybody pissed off at Rick? Dick? What is it? Make up your mind. Well, this is there's the cop here. there's a cop, when Dick Grayson when he was shot in the head, and then he sort of recovers, but he doesn't have his full memory. He sort of gives up being Nightwing because he wants to start a new life. He changes his name to Rick. He kind of kicks Barbara Gordon out of his life, which he should have a long time ago, because she's too young for him, and for so long as she's drawn like Burnside Batgirl and stuff, that just ain't gonna work. And but one of the cops basically took over the role of Nightwing since Rick Grayson had given it up, and it's quite good here. And watching this progression, it's a little bit maybe cliche in terms of how the story's progressing, but I like it. In a nutshell, here, I don't want to spend too much time on it, other than to say that Grayson, Nightwing needed some drama in his life. He really did. His comic book was treading wheels. It wasn't really going anywhere. He needs a little trauma in his life. And I actually kind of think it's cool. I know it might look kind of stupid, but I think it's kind of cool that even the scar on his head where he got shot by Cage Beast, the scar itself actually kind of looks cool. Yeah, Koala says, you don't like the idea of Rick, but it's written well. Yeah. Well, if it's any consolation, Koala, I think he's gonna go back to being a dick eventually. Who am I kidding? He was never a dick. He's always a nice guy. But I think that's I think that was one of maybe they're trying to maybe toughen Dick Grayson up a little bit. Maybe his experience as Rick Grayson is gonna do that. But I really love their Dick Grayson for reasons that have nothing to do with the character. And I don't know why you like him, Koala. A lot of people like him just because he's a sexy character and an attractive character for those reasons. And back when Tom King was writing Dick Grayson, as in the pages of Grayson, there was always that question about his sexuality, and there was he was sort of a James Bond like super spy, and he was super hot and attractive, and they always drew him at the butt and everything. He's the alpha male of the DCU. Yes, he is, Paulo. He absolutely is, and I think that might be one of the reasons why, and Paulo, I think maybe you're alluding to that, is why the controversy of Rick is so controversial. He bangs alien princesses, junior Amazons, and police commissioner daughters. That's a trifecta. You know what? I'm going to drink to that. To Rick. Or to Dick. When you think about it, why on earth would Dick Grayson want to give up being Dick? If I knew you were going to water that sweater, I wouldn't have bought I would have bought a bigger TV. Yeah. You like that sweater, huh? Yeah. This is what you call, I love Christmas time, man. I always buy sweaters at the end of Christmas season for the next Christmas. Buy this cheap at the end of Christmas last year. I can wear it this year. Yeah, that's how that works. But yeah, I'm drinking another toast to Rick Grayson, who has very fond memories, as Paulo says, of banging alien princesses, commissioners' daughters, and I missed one. He banged a huntress once. He's had more of these. He's had a couple of good flings. But all right, what's next on the list here? Do they have mirrors in Canada? Yeah, they do actually. Sugar Cat. Well, thank you. Do you think Superman wears ugly Christmas sweaters? Well, if he did, this is what he would be wearing. I'm sorry I never caught the rest of that question. I don't have another computer with me. I can just read it off the same screen that's projecting this. So this is my Super Friends lunchbox and my Super Friends thermos, which I'm drinking with you Bullet brand whiskey. Bullet brand whiskey. Sugar Cat. Toast. Merry Christmas. I had some hot chocolate there with some Baileys in it, but it didn't last long. But in any event, up this goes on the tree. And all right, I'm trying to. All right, what's next on the list? I got a lot of comic books this week. It was insane. I oh, two ones we definitely got to mention here. Border Town #4 Vertigo. I had a Kilbeggan 3. I'm sorry I missed it. Border Town #4 Vertigo. This is a series, man. Eric M. Esquivel, Ramon Villalobos, and Tamara Bonvillain. Really great series. I'm not gonna pretend that I enjoy that I completely understand the complete story, but it's really well done. I mean, I know it's going somewhere. It's really good. I'd highly recommend this. The other one is Suicide Squad Black Files #2. It centers on Katana. That's the main story. That's actually my favorite story, simply because Katana gets trapped in her own sword. Because in Katana, every time she kills a villain, the souls of all the people she kills gets trapped in her sword. Well, one of the female villains of Cobra actually turns the tables on her, and Katana gets trapped in her sword, and the soul of her husband, who she loves, has always been trapped in her sword, and so she ends up having an adventure with her husband in the soul sword, while the machinations of her arch enemy takes place outside the world. Now, on another note, I have to show off my Indiana Jones. Are there any current writers as good as Stan Lee at his best? Well, I believe Jeff Johns is as good as Stan Lee. I actually agree with the sentiment that it was expressed, and this is going to be taken the wrong way, but Tom Brevoort tried to give a compliment, but he ended up sounding like an insult when he said that Stan Lee did a lot of great things, but he implied that other people have done it better since then. Well, he's right. I mean, but Stan Lee's amazing because he did it first, because no one else had done it before. And I think it's very important to know that there's so many great writers now. Right now, probably my favorite writer, boy, it's a tough one. Al Ewing's doing a great job. I mean, Al Ewing, the way he's doing the characterizations, the flaws of David Banner, the flaws of the Hulk. I mean, good Lord. Jeff Johns is doing a fantastic job of showing the angst and the love and the family in Shazam, which is probably my favorite book of the week. Look at that. Indiana Jones, guys. He's my favorite character when he's in his prime. Harrison Ford, please retire. Pass the buck on. You're too old, my friend. Okay, here we go. They named the dog Indiana. But, all right. There is. I got some more here. Oh. Well. This is the #1. I got this when my daughter was 1. She's turning 4 this year. That's Audrey. This is The Flash. Barry Allen. No, I'm just kidding. It's Wally West. I hate Barry Allen. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right. So, there's 2 things here. I got, it's very important to have The Grinch and The Grinch's dog. I'll give a free digital code of a comic of your choice to anybody that can tell me the name of Grinch's dog. Huh? So now you can frantically Google it. But you don't know off the top of your head. Everybody knows the Grinch, but what's the name of his dog? All right. I actually don't know that. Which is sad. I mean, how many times have you seen that? It's one of... Grog. You Googled it, didn't you? You cheated. All right, Paulo. I'll take your word for it. Just tell me what comic you like, and I'll give you the digital code of the next issue. All right. Okay. running out of room on my tree. Oh my God. Okay. All right, there's the the other one here is Venom issue number 9. I got to give credit to Marvel. Marvel did very well in sales. You guys probably saw that tweet by CB Saluski bragging about Marvel, winning the unit sales again in winning the unit sales and the numbers and all the different categories and demographics, blah blah blah. Well, I know Spike in particular and Paulo, I know you could definitely nitpick that to death and say that's those numbers are inflated and there's a lot of caveats to those numbers. But I got to give credit where credit's due. I'm enjoying so much of Marvel right now. I just, Venom, granted, most of it's Donny Cates, but man, it's a lot of fun. Donny Cates is doing a great job. The way he's developing Eddie Brock's character, I always thought Venom was a very boring, very one-dimensional character. I was never into Venom, but then again, I've never been into Deadpool either. I always put Deadpool and Venom in the same categories of just sort of like uninteresting, sort of joke characters. But no, this is really good. Donny Cates is doing a good job here, man. You guys got to check this out if you're not checking it out. And the other thing here, another quick note to Marvel Knights. Now, Spike and I, we reviewed this. We talked about Marvel Knights in terms of the history of Marvel Knights in a live stream in Comic Boomerang live stream a couple of weeks back. And I'm not going to say this is as good. It is Donny Cates is a contributing writer to it. It does seem to have rotating creator teams, rotating artists, it seems. The art, this particular issue 3, wasn't as good, but it is getting interesting. Clearly this has taken place. All the heroes have forgotten their identities, and they're slowly recovering it. Do the writers of Daredevil handle the legal aspects of courtroom proceedings properly? That is that's a question I could spend a lot of time on. I practice law in Canada. I'm a family law lawyer. And so I don't get involved in I avoid the criminal stuff. I've got colleagues and colleagues that I refer criminal stuff out to. But to be blunt, yeah, more or less, they get it right. It's never. I will say this: they make Matthew Murdoch to be far too smart. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. You can be the most brilliant lawyer in the world. You can never accurately say that you're going to win a case no matter what. You can never guarantee that because it does depend on the judge. That's the one thing, and I take particular note of the Daredevil run Charles Soule wrote where Matthew Murdoch he was trying to argue for an exception to the Sixth Amendment so that criminals or that heroes could testify in court without revealing their secret identity, which would never fly in the real world. That's absurd. As if your accuser doesn't have to identify themselves. I mean, imagine. And Matthew in the United States, and he felt, even though his opposition was this genius lawyer by the name of Legal, that was actually his name, he defeated him, and Matthew Murdoch confidently said that he planned to win all the time. That's the one thing about the law, is that you can be as smart as you want. You're not just by having a brilliantly worded argument. You're just not. I've seen a lot of very brilliant people, and I won't use myself as an example. I'll leave my ego for another day. But it's know thy judge, and there's so much biases out there. That's the one thing I'd say, is that. So I'd say yes and no. Sometimes Matthew Murdoch gets it right. I like Charles Soule. Charles Soule's handling of the courtroom, I enjoyed it when he wrote She-Hulk. That was interesting. The practice of law is not near as exciting as on TV, or near as exciting as in the comic books can be. But it does have its moments. But if you're going to read something for courtroom antics and some good legal stuff, check out Charles Soule's She-Hulk. That's enjoyable. That's enjoyable. Yeah, but the overall Marvel Knights is, the jury's still out, but it's not as memorable as Guardian Devil. the first arc back in the day with Jimmy Palmiotti and Joe Quesada. All right, there is a slew. I will say this though about Daredevil, since we're on it, and okay, we're at 51 minutes here. I wasn't planning on going much more than an hour. I'm almost done with my decorations here, but just a few comments on Daredevil since we're on it. On the death of Daredevil, it ended up being that a lot of what a lot of the high points of Charles Soule's latest run in terms of becoming mainstream. It's a little bit of a cop out, but it was still well written, and I still enjoy Charles Soule's run. He also did a shout out to Charles Soule because I'm halfway through his book called Oracle Year. It's a really good novel. It's really good. It's not a comic book, but it's really good. It's made a couple of top 10 best book of the year, and it's called Oracle Year, and it's about a guy that can basically make accurate predictions about the future and the ramifications of what that would mean if somebody could actually do that. And it's very, I don't know how it's ending. I actually want to go and finish reading it. It's really good. So I haven't finished reading it yet, but so far it's quite exciting. So I'd recommend people get that. Oracle Year by Charles Soule. Check it out. Another thing, I want to give a shout out to a comic book that not enough people are talking about, and I've never talked about it. And that's Archie 1941. Now, it's written by Mark Waid. Now, I know that Mark Waid has come under, I know he's got his detractors because of, well, Comicsgate and the court case and what have you, but this is actually really good. I was listening to an interview. One of the producers, or pardon me, the editors of Archie Comics, they were talking about the development of this and how they've developed the characters. We're 3 issues in here, and it's really good. It takes place in 1941. They've just graduated high school. America's about to enter in Pearl Harbor. Hasn't quite occurred yet. They're going to enter the war, and all the stuff that they go through, Betty and Veronica, and all the characters in the revolution. It's really good stuff. It's definitely worth checking out. All right, I always put up one of my final treats is my Elvis Presley 1968 jukebox special. It goes with me wherever I go. There we go. I better put it near the bottom. It's kind of heavy. Huh? Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Woohoo! All right. There we go. All right, guys. Thank God. I thought it would never shut off. All right. A couple other things here I want to give a shout out to. Another series I'm really enjoying that was surprisingly good is Hex Wives. Now, if it's something I know a little bit about, it's Hex Wives. And it's not just because I'm divorced once, but I make people divorce for a living. And I kind of like the premise of this comic because it's basically it's having a little fun with the whole gender war. I mean, not that there is a gender war, but if there was, like basically men against women, women are the witches, men are evil. And, it's this relentless war where, generation after generation, these women that these men always manage to, kill these women. But they keep coming back as witches and they keep getting reborn. And finally, it's a losing game because it's this never-ending war. And so finally they decide the best way to defeat the women is to basically, to create a scenario where essentially they're basically their wives and their slaves. Rather than kill your enemy, why not enslave it and have it do your bidding, right? It's actually, I don't know where it's going exactly, but it's definitely, it's intriguing and it's worth checking out, and it's sort of off the beaten path. So I would recommend, honestly, guys, give it a shot, because I think I'm gonna wait till probably the 4th or 5th issue. I'm assuming whenever the first arc ends, I'm going to review the arc because I think it, dare I say, I think it deserves it. I might change my mind, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to do it because it's interesting enough that I think Vertigo's new line of comic books are very interesting, and I know that it came under a lot of flack in terms of the resumes of the people that were hired by Vertigo, but so far I'm enjoying it so far. The other thing is I want to give a quick shout out here to this series here. Die 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 is amazing. I end up doing a series on this, guys. I have to give a shout out to this series. Robert Kirkman. It's by Robert Kirkman, Chris Burnham, Scott Gimple, and Nathan Fairborn. The art's fantastic. The violence and the fun in this comic is just incredible. It is definitely not for the faint of heart. There's nudity, there's excessive violence, I think there's some swearing too, but I mean, look at that. Look at that. I mean, look at that violence. But it's not just violence for the sake of violence. Maybe it is a little, but it's fun. It's a point to it. And, this whole idea of basically there's a reason for every death, and the reason why there's stability on the planet is because there's people that do some very bad things out of necessity in order to keep things functioning properly. It's pretty good. So this is Die Die Die, not to be confused with another series called Die. Image has two titles right now. One is called just Die, and now this one's called Die Die Die. I kid you not, because you got to be careful, because one of my buddies he thought he was ordering Die Die Die, but he got the series called Die in instead. And anyways, I'm just putting that out there. So yeah, check it out, man. Image has got some great stuff, but there's so many comics out there, it's insane. Now, the other thing is, I want to give a shout out to, oh man, there is one here that, Vampirella and Deja-Thoris. I particularly, I have collected Vampirella and Deja-Thoris forever, and I've got decades worth of their comics. And this is the first time that I can recall that they've ever been together, and wow. I was actually hoping, I'm not gonna lie, the Purian fanboy comes out in me when I look at Vampirella and Deja-Thoris, because I make no apologies for the fact that when I see a series like this, I do frankly expect to have some nudity, have some more sexuality, because that's part of their characters. I stopped collecting Deja-Thoris, her other series with that Dynamite, because I'll be quite blunt, they put more clothes on her. I know that sounds bad, but they just changed her. They made her less sexual, less enticing. That's not why like, no offense, but I don't, you think I collect Deja-Thoris to be educated? Come on, seriously. There's, they have to remember what the core essence of certain characters are, and some of them, their core essence is about the sexuality. It's about this, it's about not only their character, but the sexual nature of the character itself, how they come across. That's just the way it is. You think everybody used to buy Wonder Woman comics in the 40s because they wanted empowerment? Please. But speaking of Wonder Woman, guys, J. Willow Wilson on Wonder Woman, Deja-Thoris is described as naked in the novels. Well, thank you, Paulo. You've vindicated me. I thought maybe I was sounding like a complete, inappropriate jerk there. I don't know, but yeah, thank you. And here's the thing, I have never read her in the novels. The current Barbarella is almost completely devoid of sexuality as well. I heard that, Paulo. I paged through it. It's been on the stands at the comic shop on the rack. I've never bought it. I never bought it primarily because of the art. Artistically, it never really appealed to me when I looked at it. I wish it was. I think there's nothing more important than when you have these characters. If Dynamite could only appreciate, or any comic book company that's taken on taking on licensed material, the visuals, the art is so important, because I will pick up a comic from any new comic book company, but if it's got, if the art seems a little bit subpar, or if I have any preconceived notions of the character and they're not met by a glance by a page through, I'm not going to get it. Speaking of which, the first comic book I read this week was not any part of the big two. It says, get ready for PG-13, Druna, one of these days. No, say it ain't so, not Druna. Um, I was going to say, sorry, I'm looking for it here. Oh, I can't find it. Anyways, the series is called The Wrong Earth, and it's really good. And here's a second issue of Hex Wives. It's pretty good. But the series is called The Wrong Earth, and I think I'm gonna see here. Anyways, I can't find the cover. Oh, there it is. I'm actually organized, believe it or not. I just have a lot of comics. It's called The Wrong Earth. This is about a character by the name of Dragonfly Man, and he's called Dragonfly on Earth Omega, and on Earth Alpha he's called Dragonfly Man. So he's called Dragonfly on one and Dragonfly Man on the other, and they switch the Earths. And just imagine what would happen if, imagine a crazy Batman world like in the 1960s Batman that's so campy and corny. And imagine that being switched, that Batman is switched with a Frank Miller Batman of Dark Knight Returns. Imagine how crazy those two characters would have to adjust. Totally different worlds. You know, the violent Dark Knight Batman suddenly finds himself in the campy 1960s, Adam West Batman. And imagine Adam West Batman suddenly finding himself confronting the Joker in the Dark Knight world. How would that be? And that's what this deals with. And it takes it seriously. And this is really good stuff. And on my videos, you'll see a progression, I think, in the, dare I say, quality of my videos. I keep experimenting. And I want to do a good one for Wrong Earth. Because, so this is really good. This would be my first recommendation, by the way. I keep replacing my first recommendation because there's so many good comic books out. This is easily this is going to be in my top 10 for 2000 and no, maybe top 20. But it's going to be easily, might be in top 10. I want to see DKR, Batman, Tell Caesar, Ramona, Joker. I can count 17 ways. I don't even know if it's ever going to end or have an end point. And I know they're taking now Brian K. Vaughan has taken a year off of Saga. And Brian Lee O'Malley, I don't know if he's got a direction for Snot Girl or not, but it's always something that does consistently entertain me. But it is what it is. Finally, here, I'm going to give a shout out to The Last Siege, which is an Image comic written by Laundry D. Walker, Justin Greenwood, Brad Simpson, and Patrick Brazeau. This is if you guys like Game of Thrones type of stories that are not particularly complicated, if you want a Game of Thrones sort of type of direction, but without the having to have your brain explode trying to figure it out, all the subplots and what's going on, pick up The Last Siege. Because in a nutshell, it's basically the last kingdom holdout of a massive army attacking, and basically this one particular, warrior, taking control, and he's got his he's got like a secret past and a hidden past himself, and he defends this castle, and the last siege occurs, and what happens and how you get there over 7 issues. And the dialogue's really good, and you got your alpha males involved, as you can imagine. Some really good stuff, good dialogue, good scenes. And not only that, where this last 7th issue stands out in particular, and I wish more writers and artists would have the balls to pull this off, the chutzpah to do this. Almost no dialogue at all. The entire 7th issue is just one long, choreographed, described fight scene. There is no dialogue. The entire issue is just that final battle. Beautiful art, fire, terror, horrors, death, destruction. and it plays cinematically out, not a bit of dialogue. I love that. That shows confidence in your work when, as a writer, you can describe cinematically to your artist that which you want to be portrayed, and your artist can pull that off. And you see the scenes play out, and it's almost like you're watching the movie. Again, not a shred of dialogue in issue 7 of The Last Siege, Image Comics. Well worth the read. And just look at some of these scenes. It's just, this is so well done. This is so well done that if you pick up the 7th issue, guys, you'll pick it up and you'll say, my God, I got to pick up the last 6 issues. How did it get to this point? This is epic. You know, again, trying to tear down the castle walls. This is really good stuff. I again recommend that. Look at that explosion. Good God. Amazing. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. And from the ashes, of course, rises the enemy. Or is he the enemy? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Really great comic book, guys. Again, shout out to Landry D. Walker and Justin Greenwood. Did a really good job. And just 2 more, guys, and then I'm 10 minutes over here, but I didn't want to go much more over in an hour. Stellar and the Beyonders. Stellar by Image. This series just ended. It went 6 issues long. A shout out to Joseph Keatage and Brett Blevins. This was also a very good comic. Also, the art was very well done. Imagine, here's the concept behind Stellar. I'll tell you it in a nutshell, and then I'll let it sink in. All right. Imagine that you're fighting an enemy. Your enemy has destroyed you, killed everything you believed in, killed all your friends, family, loved ones, and then you spend so much of your life trying to escape him because he keeps coming after you. Only you ultimately end up being in a scenario where you discover your future, and you meet your future self only to discover that your future self married your enemy. How's that for a little bit of a mind screw? How does that happen? And what do you do, and how do you deal with it? And how do you deal with some of those harsh truths? What possibly could have happened in her life to have made her get together with her enemy? How does that make even sense? That's Stellar. And that's what's different about it. Takes place over 6 issues. A lot of violence, a lot of dialogue, a lot of great fight scenes. Check it out. All right, Beyonders. Now, I've always been a fan of Paul Jenkins. I've always liked him. Wesley St. Clair is not someone that I've been all that familiar with. But Paul Jenkins is the creator and writer, and Wesley St. Clair is the artist. Now, Beyonders, what I like about Beyonders is, we live in a world where everybody's got a conspiracy theory. Everybody thinks there's, even the president of the United States has conspiracy theories. Can you believe it? I promise, no Trump jokes. What if some of those conspiracy theories were true? What if all of them were true? This is about a guy, the reason why the lead protagonist in this series, he's recruited by a secret organization. I know it sounds cliche, but he's recruited by an organization that thinks he's got a special gift, because it just so happens every crazy theory that this kid has actually ends up making sense, and he's the only thing that can sort of save the world and put together all the pieces that have been collected through time from archaeologists all throughout time, and he connects all the dots. And again, it's called The Beyonders, and it's a great series. It's 4 issues in. It's another book by Aftershock. Aftershock's done such a great job. Again, there's some really good comic books here. And just a shout out to The Wrong Earth. That's Ahoy Comics. Ahoy Comics and Aftershock Comics, guys. If you're looking for something different outside the big two and outside of Image, check out Aftershock. Anything by Aftershock Comics or Ahoy Comics, because I don't give them enough shout outs. All right, I'm going to just I'm just going to pull in my Christmas tree here. All right. What up, Comic Boom? Sorry too long to you, but I was proud of your grab boot covers of Doomsday. Yeah. Thanks, man. I couldn't quite read the entire message, so I apologize. All right. Okay. Well, guys, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. It was an impromptu live stream. I literally went on the fly. I didn't want to, I never advertised it. It was just some things. I just don't have enough time to review all the comic books I wanted to this week. and I wanted to decorate. This is a tree that I'm going to leave up for all my reviews that I'm going to do to now until the first week of January. And I just wanted to do something like this because it's fun, and we put our tree up in the main house. And I did exactly what I said I would do. I drank some hot chocolate with Bailey's in it, and I finished one bottle of Corona. I have a second bottle here, but I was talking too much. I wanted to at least do some talking. You guys can watch Comic Boom drink beer. How fun is that? But guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And Paulo, I owe you a digital code. You got to tell me what you want. I'll hit you up on Twitter. And yeah, guys, I'm going to sign off. It's just Sugar Cat. I just gave you a shout out on Twitter. And yes, balls are missing from comics. I'm glad you All right, thanks, Sugar Cat. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much. And until next time, Merry Christmas, guys. Hope you have fun decorating your tree. Don't forget to have a Corona or a hot chocolate. And Merry Christmas. See you guys later. Comic Boom.